but he doesn't disregard or diminish the value of his TKE experience. So Mike, it's your turn.
Thank you. Thanks, Jon, for having me. When the house was dedicated, the new house was dedicated, I was also asked to speak, and I spoke after Gino, who told one story about flooding stairwells and swimming, surfing, those sorts of things. And now I follow Jon with multiple stories of M80s and burning W's and things like that. So, current students, make sure you listen to the principals and adhere to the principles. And the details of the stories, please ignore those. And keep in mind that in Jon's era, in my era, there was no CNN, there was no internet, Facebook, tweeting, etc. Some of those things that he talked about, if there was video of that, would not be good for those who participated. So remember that, current students, keep yourselves out of trouble. In my role as Dean of Students, it is fun for me to watch our students get acclimated to the college, and particularly watch the TKEs get acclimated to being a TKE. And it has been especially gratifying for me to see that through the eyes of my 1980s fraternity mate, Rick Hammerly, his wife, and my sweetheart then, as in she was the chapter sweetheart. Please pause my room. Amy, and their son Connor, who is a sophomore and a TKE. And what I especially enjoy is looking at it through our students' eyes and trying to see who is for them what certain guys were for me that represented the three elements, the three principles of the fraternity. For me, charity is most summed up in a gentleman named Dean Heinold. In fact, my classmates joke all the time that it is very appropriate that I am now Dean Raiders because of the amount of help that I got to graduate from Dean Heinold. But that should be what is on my diploma. It should be Dean Raiders instead of Michael Raiders because of how much Dean helped me get through school. Esteem. And I use this example actually quite often with our student leaders. When I was a freshman in our first football game, I watched it. I was kind of sitting behind the TKEs today, as a matter of fact, and I was looking for something similar to my story, my first game as a freshman. Critical part of the game, at least I thought it was critical, and I jumped up and yelled some things at an official, and all of a sudden I had a hand on my shoulder yanked me down. Kind of turn around, I'm at a college football game, I can yell and scream. And I turn around and there was our previous Chris Harvey. And Chris looked at me and I looked at him and he said, "We don't do that here." Now I heard some people who do that today, particularly at the end. But my point is that Chris modeled for me what it meant to carry oneself with respect, command respect, and hopefully I do. I try to share not only that story with our students, but try to keep in mind, try to emphasize really to myself how I need to carry myself so that others will hopefully listen to me and respect me. The greatest of these, of course, of the principles is love. A number of my fraternity mates are a little closer to my heart, a little further up there on the love scale than others. I think that's the way it is for every fraternity man in any fraternity. But for me, my best friend now really wasn't my best friend in school. We got to be closer our senior year, and that's a friendship that's carried on. Greg Zorich, class of '85. I communicate often with Randy Combs, class of '85. And the greatest Wabash man, greatest TKE that I knew was a gentleman named Scott Farrow, class of '84. Scott passed away several years ago, and I still miss him and miss the ability, especially now, for me to call him and ask him for advice and get the type of advice that I got from him throughout my days here at Wabash. So it's very enjoyable for me to see how our guys look for those types of leaders as they get acclimated to the fraternity. The one thing, and actually the three things that I think have been most consistent for my era and post 80s gentlemen in the teak house have been three very consistent, it hasn't changed, types of guys that everybody who's been a class of 85 and beyond has been able to rely on to model charity, esteem, and love, and that's Jon, and that's Brad, and that's Gene. And so, you know, this chapter, I know from the inside scoop that I get not only now, but in looking at the past news of Wabash, I know this chapter would not exist still without Jon and Brad and Gene and their work and their cultivation of the three principles of the fraternity. And we all are very grateful to all three of you for it. There you are, for your efforts. Thanks again very much for having me.
We're going to have a short interlude from the speeches and recognize the chapter sweethearts, and to do that will be Gene King, class of '78. Now entering Gene King.
I'd like to, first of all, thank all the kind words that have been said about me and my tenure and my experience here at the Teak House. I came from Fort Wayne back in I shouldn't say the year, but I grew up with 8 sisters and 4 brothers, and I went to a rather large high school, and I found a love of the Teak House in the summer before I actually came to Wabash. I actually pledged, and I can honestly tell you the experience has been really wonderful. I've grown quite a bit. I've seen quite a bit, and over the years, the Teak has been a wonderful experience for me. But tonight I'm here to help us honor those young ladies who do not have the privilege to come into Wabash College. And I'd like to first of all have anyone here who has been a past Teak sweetheart to please stand and be recognized. Carnation, am I correct? If anyone doesn't have one, make sure one is given to her. Raise your hand if you didn't receive one today. And every lady here who's here should have got a red carnation, which is the Teak flower of recognition, okay? And we're going to honor you all by singing the old Teak Sweetheart song. Over the years, the Teak men have looked at many, many, many women. From Marilyn Monroe to Farrah Fawcett, Madonna, and most recently, Kate Upton. I remember many nights down in the TV room, the eyes of the gentlemen were glued to Charlie's Angels. And in my agitation, I would go down there and pull the plug out and run upstairs and listen to them howl at me for doing that. All in good fun. But there's something about having a Teak sweetheart. Some of us had those while we were here at Wabash. Some of us got those in later years. So, in true honoring, because several guys here said they don't know the Teak sweetheart song. Now, so we're going to do it twice. First time is going to be the warm-up. And then the second time is going to be for real. All right? On your last page, you have the words to the Teak sweetheart song. And from this point on, it should be forever burned in your hearts to say the song. Has everybody found the words who don't know the words? All right. And will all you men please stand up? From all? It goes from all. Mm-hmm. from the top. Wait, with 1 and a 2 and a 3. For all the girls that I have known, the dearest one to me is the girl who wears above her heart the badge of TKE. No other girl could be so fair, so loyal, and so true. I pledge her my heart that I never shall part from my sweetheart in TKE. Now that was pretty good. Now, let's sing it from our hearts, and let's sing it like we know it and mean it, all right? From the top of all the girls. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Of all the girls that I have known, the dearest one to me is the girl who wears above her heart the badge of TKE. No other girl could be so fair, so loyal, and so true. I pledge her my heart that I never shall part from my sweetheart of TKE. Gentlemen, would you please sit down? Ladies, peak sweethearts, please stand up one more time. And everyone, please give them a big hand. A big hand. And I thank my frauders for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Gino sings with charity of love and esteem. Our next speaker, when we're now back to speed dating, is Joe Stoutner. Joe graduated in the class of 2001. He's on the board of advisors. The time that Joe was in the fraternity was a time of discontent of some sort. We ended up losing our charter for a while, and we got it back, and it wasn't good times. And I want to say that it's really remarkable that Joe has such loyalty and dedication to the Teaks to come from that period, and very diligently and loyally serves the members of the Teak chapter, and I'm glad and happy we're board members together on the board of advisors.
John never has been brief, has he? He's right. I came to the house in the fall of '97. We had half a house. Our pledges nearly outnumbered our actives. And it was a very interesting time in the house. We ended up going to the Sparks Center every day for meals, or just deciding that wasn't worth the walk to eat. It was easier to go to Kroger and get something else. We did get our charter pulled in the spring of '99, shortly before Honor Scholar. Only time I've ever known of Honor Scholar weekend having a kegger thrown in a fraternity house. We didn't have to rush. We managed to get the charter back through hard work of a lot of underclassmen and a lot of alumni. First among those would be John, Brad, Gino, several others, more than I can remember. One of the biggest things I remember about the house when I came in '97 in Iraj was that, to most of our understanding, the alumni organization was two things: was a bunch of people that came homecoming or Mona Honor, drank beer and abused freshmen. And then there were essentially 2 alums that came in as advisors. That, I think, was part of the big problem that led to the charter being pulled. And I saw a massive outpouring of alumni support when we started working to get the charter back. And that's one of the large reasons that I continue to come back and that I'm now on the board, is I refuse to allow this house not to have the alumni support necessary to keep it going. I think everyone here, the undergrads, need to look at the alums and say thank you for the work that we've done to get the house to this point and to keep it going. And every alum needs to look at the undergrads and thank them for the work that they do to keep it moving, because it takes work on both sides. The biggest change I saw was going from, we've got 2 guys that kind of work with the house, to having a board of, what, a dozen of us? 10 of us? And several other alums that give support throughout the year, where it had been 2 alums and a bunch of guys that just wanted to come and drink beer.